At the height of his success, Burt Reynolds was one of the most popular movie stars in the world, but this all came crashing down for the actor around the time of his divorce from television actress Loni Anderson. The divorce came at a low point in Burt's career, and he subsequently had to file for bankruptcy. Allegations of abuse have tainted the actor's legacy, though he was able to put aside his differences with Loni before his 2018 death after achieving a career renaissance in the late 90s. Although Burt and Loni set aside their differences, she remains open about her dissatisfaction with their marriage. Join Facts First as Loni Anderson confesses secrets behind Burt Reynolds' divorce. When Burt Reynolds was in college, he had aspirations of becoming a professional football player. It appeared he might have the skills, but he ended up suffering a number of tragic injuries that prevented him from pursuing his dreams. Instead, Burt turned to acting in his college drama department. Eventually, he realized he was good enough at it that it might make a promising career. He made a bid for Hollywood stardom, and it proved successful. At the height of his success, he was one of the most popular stars in the world. He used this clout to date a variety of Hollywood starlets, though he was only married 2 times over the course of his life. Burt's first spouse had been a woman named Judy Carn, who he married in 1963 and divorced in 1965. Burt didn't marry again until over 2 decades later. He dated around in Hollywood for a number of years, and many thought the star would never find someone worthy of pinning him down. But that all changed when he starred alongside actress Loni Anderson in the 1983 film Stroker Ace. Loni had gained success for her tenure on the sitcom WKRP in Cincinnati, and her role in Stroker Ace was an attempt to break into film. Though it didn't prove successful, it did prove the start of a relationship that later blossomed into marriage. Loni had been on WKRP for 5 years as the radio station's lovable secretary. Audiences and critics alike adored her, and she was nominated for 3 Golden Globe Awards. Loni's success on the series garnered her the role alongside Burt Reynolds in Stroker Ace, and it's not hard to see how the actress made an impression on him. Stroker Ace followed the exploits of its titular character, a NASCAR driver played by Reynolds. Loni Anderson played his love interest. Though the film isn't too widely remembered, the resulting relationship between Burt and Loni certainly made an impact on the tabloids. The two dated for a number of years before tying the knot in 1988. Their wedding was incredibly elaborate, and attendees had to be flown in by helicopter. It took place in Florida and was given its own article in People magazine. It seemed to the public Burt and Loni were living the dream, but this dream soon turned to a nightmare. Soon into their marriage, Burt and Loni decided to adopt a son. While the adopted child was meant to bring the pair together, other things were tearing them apart. One of the biggest concerns Burt had with Loni seems to have been her exuberant spending habits. Burt had reportedly given his spouse a credit card with a spending limit of nearly $50,000, which Loni spent in less than an hour. There were also numerous rumors of infidelity on the part of both spouses, something that didn't come as much of a surprise to the public given their romantic histories. The tabloids documented all these troubles, and the public enjoyed watching the former power couple become fodder for increasingly dramatic gossip. Into the 1990s, it was clear the marriage between Burt and Loni wasn't going to last. They divorced in 1994, after which point Burt could be seen and heard all over the media spouting vitriol about his former spouse. Loni refused to retaliate, saying she didn't want to stoop to her former husband's level. But she eventually came forward with some shocking stories of abuse she claimed to have suffered at Burt's hands. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. And stick around for more about Burt and Loni. By the time Burt and Loni were divorcing in 1994, neither star was anywhere near the celebrity they'd once been. Their relationship was arguably their only remaining source of fame, as the vicious rumors Burt began spreading about his former wife became the only thing the public was interested in hearing from either party. Burt ended up filing for bankruptcy after the divorce, so it's not hard to see why he saw fit to continually bring up the fact that his marriage to Loni had cost him so much money. He derided her for being overly materialistic, claiming she couldn't be seen wearing the same outfit more than once. Loni refused to retaliate at first to Burt's attacks in the media before eventually changing her mind. Although Loni had made a pact with herself not to stoop to her husband's level, she eventually decided she had no choice. When she finally started bringing to light her own side of the story, the tales she had to tell proved much more damning than Burt's tales of a materialistic wife. According to Loni, Burt was physically abusive to her numerous times during their marriage, with him constantly telling her no one would believe her over him due to the fact that he was more famous. Burt claimed the marriage fell apart because Loni had refused to be intimate with him for 3 years. He also shared a tale that his mother had told him that marrying Loni was a bad idea during the marriage ceremony. But if Loni's stories are true, Burt deserved the damage to his reputation and career that came alongside his divorce. While Burt had sunk to rock bottom in the years after his divorce from Loni, he ended up being given a second chance when he was cast in the 1997 film Boogie Nights. The public had a hard time reconciling Burt's rejuvenated stardom with Loni's allegations. However, it appears that both the public and Loni herself agreed to forgive Burt by the time of his 2018 death. The two were reported to have made up to the point they were able to sit down and have dinner together in the years before he died. Loni always maintained Burt had been physically abusive towards her, but she also always maintained Burt had always been a loving father. Princess Diana was competing for tabloid fodder for Burt Reynolds and Loni Anderson around the time of their divorce, with the couple winning out much of the headline space during the most heated moments. Because of this, Princess Di was said to have sent Burt Reynolds a card thanking him for keeping her name out of the tabloids for the time being. Burt owed money to Loni from the divorce until just a year before his death. He had a hard time keeping up with the hefty payments due to his sporadic work later on in life, but was eventually able to give her everything the court said he owed her. Reynolds died of a heart attack at age 82. While Burt and Loni may have found peace before the end of his life, Burt always claimed the two were never meant to be together. According to Burt, the only true love of his life was actress Sally Fields. They met on Smokey and the Bandit and developed a romantic relationship, but it eventually fell apart due to Burt's substance abuse. This substance abuse also continued throughout his marriage to Loni, playing a part in his poor behavior. Soon after his death, Sally Fields published a memoir called In Pieces. According to Sally, she was glad that Burt was dead by the time of the memoir's publishing due to the things it said about him. Now it's time to hear from you. Did you know Burt Reynolds was said to have beaten former wife Loni Anderson multiple times during their marriage? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.